So if you listen to these two very organized talks, you'll have a different perception after I'm done. I have a lot of thought experiments to maybe throw out there to just sort of get us to understand what we've already heard. This is a hard issue. This is not a cut and dried issue. We heard Arnold talk about Apple saying that it would be 2 to 4 weeks of technologists. It turns out, I mean, those are the key iOS developers, and they claimed it would impact their roadmap of their software releases. And of course, that's big money, even a few days of delay or something because those people were unavailable would ripple through the whole corporate value. So they did claim it was more than just 8 engineer days or whatever we would say it would be. Also, we haven't heard yet that the FBI was able to hack into the phone through purchasing gray hat hacks, or a hack of some kind. We don't know yet what it is. It's not clear that Apple will ever learn what it is. Apple has said that they will not, the new phones won't be vulnerable to that type of hack anyway. So they claim they're not worried about knowing what it was. But the gray hat hacker is someone who can hack into a system that's supposed to be secure and then sell that capability, whether it's to a good guy or a bad guy. They're an agnostic. White hat hacker, you assume, will call up the company and say, hey, you've got a vulnerability. And the black hat hacker, of course, immediately attacks somebody and tries to steal their money. So we were sort of in the middle with this one. It's a very interesting solution. FBI obviously didn't pursue that before they went out and asked Apple for their help in a very public way. It was a little debatable about whether the FBI went public with this before Apple did. I think they did, even though I've seen reports both ways. But the point being, why did FBI do this? It looked like they were trying to create precedent. It looked like they were trying to establish some ground here that they have the authority to do this kind of thing. So as a consumer, I was a little bit put off by that assumption. But has a day gone by when people haven't heard about fallout from this situation? I don't know if this was going on before February very much, maybe a little bit here and there every few months. Every day since this case has hit, there has been talk of other similar issues out there. And what's this? Just this morning, Wall Street Journal, Microsoft sues the U.S. on secret surgeons. This is back to the 1986 Electronic Communication Privacy Act. Microsoft saying it's being applied way too broadly. They're getting thousands of requests, and they're not allowed to tell their users that they're being searched. They have to turn the data over. And something seems wrong with this because if your house were being searched, you would have to yield to a search warrant, but at least you'd know your house is being searched. In this case, you don't know. In fact, Microsoft said in half of these cases, we are never allowed to tell. There's no time limit to the gag order to tell the customer. So there's something distasteful about that, at least to me. It's my you can disagree. Obviously, we don't want bad people to go unpunished. We want to catch bad guys, and we love our FBI shows and Law and Order shows where people are solving crimes. And most of the time, this is a one-off kind of a solution, and that appeals to us. Someone's suspected of doing something bad. We look into it. We discover that, yeah, they did something bad, and we can prove it, and we can send them to jail. Mass surveillance is a whole other can of worms, and I think that's what is rubbing a lot of consumers wrong in this regard. We do want to be able to catch bad people, and as a result, we sometimes say we'd like something like the Clipper chip, which is a way the government can break the cipher, but only the government can break that cipher. Problem is, sometimes it's the bad people that are trying to break into the communication, not just make the communication. And if the bad people are trying to break into the communication, then we have a whole different situation on our hands. My family just hosted a Chinese dissident that is can't go back to China right now because he was in jail. He's blind. He was in jail, tricked his way out of jail, got to the U.S., got his family. I don't honestly know the whole story because he doesn't speak English, but he did write a book, which is written in English, and I'm going to read this book. It's fascinating. But the point being, we kind of want this to happen. We want this guy to be able to communicate and to be able to fight government oppression in his country. So you can't have it both ways. We can't both have a backdoor to encryption and then not have bad people using that backdoor. I mean, you think, well, you can keep it secret, but you know it isn't going to be. Because look what happened with the iPhone 5C. A gray hat hacker hacked into it anyway. These things are not controllable. And essentially, Apple was worried about the operating system replacement going out into the wild. That's a perfectly reasonable fear, even though, oh, sure, they could delete it. But now that it's been built, the knowledge is available. So in the last week, I think the Feinstein-Burr legislation, has anybody heard about this? It was put out for comment and immediately withdrawn because it was so awful. It essentially said that every place there's servers that store data, it would have to be warrantable, searchable, and if it wasn't intelligible, it would have to be made intelligible. So now we have to be able to, in the case of WhatsApp or iMessage, the companies would have to be able to decrypt this information if should a warrant arrive. Well, that ruins the whole scheme, right? So Feinstein-Burr was supposed to be a bipartisan legislation. Obama was looking for a middle ground. Hillary Clinton talks about, we got to find a middle ground. They both said, no, this isn't going to work. So that was way overbaked. That's going away, at least for now. It'll probably come back in some other form, who knows. But the point of it is that this is not well thought through.